Okay, there's a video that I've been wanting to do for a few days now. And I've been going back and forth. Should I? Shouldn't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? I don't usually get controversial, and I don't think this one necessarily is. I like to stick to sports, but there's something that has been bugging me. It's just been a thorn in my side, whatever you want to call it. And it's talking about the brawl, right, that happened between the Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons. And first, we'll talk about what happened. Then we'll talk about the ensuing events. And then we'll talk about why this isn't a repeat of the Malice at the Palace and why I'm so sick of hearing about the Malice at the Palace every time something like this happens in Detroit. That's not what it is. It's a different city. And the facts behind what happened at the Malice at the Palace weren't even close. And we will talk about Mason and what happened with his announcement, where he's saying, as there's starting to be a brawl by the bench, players are getting on each other, pushing, shoving, all that kind of stuff. He said something along the lines of, then if you move, your next step is going to jail. And basically telling the entire arena that something that happened 20 years ago will put them in jail now if they just move an inch, like, and instilling fear. And if that makes sense to me or if it doesn't. I know the way I said it doesn't, but it kind of does at the same time. So let's talk about that. First is what happened. What happened was a cheap shot by Moe Wagner. Simple enough. I can call it how I see it. I love the Michigan Wolverines. It's a former Wolverine. That was a bull crap play. He hip checked him into the Pistons bench. This isn't hockey. We're not playing hockey. I understand you're not going to win the battle to the ball. I know it was a heat of the moment thing, but it just kind of shows that there's a little bit of dirtiness to Moe Wagner. And then I think that Hamidou Diallo was absolutely in the right, coming up to him, giving him a little shove and letting him know, hey, you don't do that to my teammate. I like that. I liked what he did. I'm kind of surprised he got suspended, but it was for enhancing the brawl. It was for continuing it on. You're supposed to let it all go. But anyways, so we have that. He enhances it, and then Killian Hayes is just livid, comes running over. I don't know if he tried to punch him or if he tried to forearm shiver him in the back of the head, but he ended up with the forearm to the back of the head. Moe Wagner just acts like he dies. Like, oh, and then he like falls into the Pistons bench. Sorry, that was really funny to me. Just the drama on that guy is so strong. And then, then what happens is you just hear through the television broadcast. I wasn't at the game. You hear through the television broadcast, Mason on the speaker telling everybody, don't move, stay in your seats. The next moment you move or the next inch you move, you are going to jail, like, and all this kind of stuff. And I'm watching it and I'm just thinking to myself, like, really? Like, Malice at the Palace 20 years ago, Pistons, Pacers, two best teams in the East, arguably the two best teams in the NBA. One is the going to work Pistons and, the city of Detroit, the bad boys. We have that whole thing. And then you have the Indiana Pacers, who really were the bad boys. You got guys like Ron Artest, Jermaine O'Neal, Steven Jackson. You have these guys that like literally were known for doing stupid stuff on and off the court. So like that is a totally different thing than these two young teams that are battling for the worst record in the league. Not the best, the worst. We're not at the Palace anymore. We're now at Little Caesars Arena. One article had a headline, Malice at Little Caesars Arena. Come on. Like, come on. At least have some creativity, right? Man. So like, heating up in the oven. I don't know. Sorry. Anyways, I'm going to stick to the seriousness of this. And then every time this happened, there's this rap on the city of Detroit. Not a safe place. Yep. Can't even go to a basketball game and be safe ever since the Malice at the Palace. And what does this look like? And you never know when a brawl's going to break out with the crowd too. No. I've taken my 10-year-old daughter to a couple of Pistons games. We could not feel more safe. The Malice at the Palace. How far away is Auburn Hills from Detroit? 30 miles? Like, that happened in a completely different city, a city that was, the Palace was put there because there was more money there. So that's why the Palace was originally put there in what, 90, 89, 91, something like that when it was open. So you have what is this nice Auburn of Palace Hills. And then you think about what started the fight. Ron Artest, we all remember he's infamously laying down on the scorer's table and a fan throws a beer at him. That fan, by the way, was from the suburbs. He wasn't from downtown Detroit. And then the craziness ensues. And by the way, it's not like the whole stadium attacked the Pacers. There was a few guys that found their way onto the court. And it was Ron Artest and Steven Jackson that found their way into the stands. This was all located and isolated at the Pistons bench. Mason probably has a contractual obligation. If a brawl breaks out, as the PA announcer, he needs to make sure the crowd knows beyond the shadow of a doubt, you do not move from your seat, or at least you do not move toward the court. I understand that. I think it could have been said a little bit differently, but that's what Mason does. Like, that's why we love Mason, because he's a great PA announcer because of the unique way in which he says stuff. He has a voice that you hear above anything else. So while another PA announcer might just say something as simple as, if you move toward the court, you will end up in jail. And you would never hear it, and you never, on the TV broadcast, you would never think about it. When it comes to the Pistons, Mason has that voice. So you're going to hear it, and he's going to say it in a way that's kind of cool. So he's going to say it in a way that's kind of cool. So I don't really blame him for that, but it just felt dirty. It felt wrong. And I think the person at most wrong here is Moe Wagner, and then it's Killian Hayes. Come on, we all know that you don't retaliate. Your teammate already had your back. And I understand you're seeing red, you're enraged. Killian has had injury problems. He's starting to play well. This is his team this year with Cade Cunningham being hurt. And what I mean by that is he's running the show. He's the point guard. And so in a flash of a moment, he thinks to himself, that could all be gone. He could get hurt again. He could, whatever it might be. It was a cheap shot, but let your teammates have your back. And they did. His teammates did have his back. They engulfed Moe Wagner. Like, they had his back. They were going to his aid, making sure that it's known, like, you don't mess with that. So you don't need to come running back in and forearm shiver. You don't need to throw a punch. You don't need to do it. So when I look at this, it was all an incident where nobody got seriously hurt. Suspensions were handed out, 1 for Hami, 2 for Wagner, 3 for Killian Hayes. I think all make sense. And then you have all the 1-game suspensions. I think 9 players in total were suspended from Orlando because they ran off their bench over to ours. I just get frustrated when there's a struggle between the two teams, and it has to be said, if you leave your seat, you're going to jail. And it's like, I get it. We don't want people to go. I just don't know if that's a thing around the league. And I think it's time that the current fans stop paying the price for stupidity 20 years ago. That's all I'm saying. I think we can stop with that, and we can just have a normal understanding. It hasn't happened for 20 years. It likely won't happen again. In fact, people have a higher awareness, like, can't do that. That was absolutely awful. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. Wanted to talk about it. Yeah, hopefully a few people watch this video because it was actually a real video. So let's see. It wasn't just talking about the Pistons struggling or draft position or, Cade having a good year, or not Cade, obviously he's hurt, Killian having a good year and why Jalen Duren's great. Like, it's a real video. So anyways, hope you see it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Great content here on this channel. At least we like to think so. Pistons, Lions, we love talking it. And we'll see you on the next one.